Welcome to the Franchise Frontier, the podcast where we explore the evolving franchise landscape, dive into latest industry trends, and share actionable tools and tactics to help you build and grow your business. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Franchise Frontier podcast. I'm Dave Kimura. Today, we have a special guest. We have Sarah Moriarty from Benetrends Financial. She is the Director of Business Development. Today, we're going to talk more about funding, about the other parts of the business that we have not touched on the podcast. So, Sarah, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Dave.
So, give us a little background on you, a little bit about how you started out, how you've gotten to Benetrends, and what you guys do.
Yeah, that's always a fun question in the franchise world because I feel like everyone has a different story of how they ended up here and they never leave. But I've been with Benetrends for about 4 years outside of Philly. I'm located outside of Philly, headquartered outside of Philly as well. And I came from a sales background coming out of college. And I didn't really align with what I was selling, right? I didn't believe in it. I sold toilet paper and floor mats and didn't like that too much. Moved to some other jobs and then connected with a friend on LinkedIn and asked if I wanted to join Benetrends. And I said, what is ROBS? What is 401k funding? What's the franchise industry? Is this Chick-fil-A, Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's? So it's been about 4 years, helped a lot of clients work with Horsepower very closely and help people achieve their dreams through funding and business ownership.
That's awesome. You know, as I review your guys' website, as I talk to you and we talk about things, I know that one of the key terms that a lot of people talk about is fundability. Yeah. When you talk about fundability, what does that mean? What does that mean for you? What are the steps that people take to even find out what fundability is?
Yeah, absolutely. I think of fundability as buying power, right? What is your buying power? I think of it as if you were going to buy a house, you need to get pre-approved. You need to know what neighborhood you want to shop in, what you can afford, what you can't afford. So fundability is what are your options? What are the pros and cons of those options and what's going to fund your business comfortably and not strap yourself too thin? What's going to be effective and strategic and capitalize your business so that you can ramp up successfully?
Okay. So if we take a step back, if I'm thinking of purchasing a business, getting into the franchise world or any sort of business ownership, when you talk about what fundability is, when you talk about what Benetrends is, what are the things that I'm looking for to realize that business ownership is something that I can achieve? I would imagine most people, whether or not they have the knowledge, they probably don't know all the avenues of ability to become a business owner. I think when we get into franchise ownership as well, people probably look at the initial investment and it takes them off guard. It's like anything. Am I able to finance that in some way, whether it be I'm going to buy a pool, can I finance it? So as you're thinking about the type of clientele that you guys deal with, what are some of the first questions or like introductory things that is kind of an aha moment for them when they deal with you guys and learn about their ability to be fundable?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I speak with clients, usually the first 5 minutes is building rapport, getting to know them, but they need to have an idea of, how much cash do you have? What is your credit score? Do you have an idea of your credit score? Do you have home equity? Do you have these assets? Some people look to, for friends and family for fundability, but they don't realize that maybe they're sitting on retirement funds that they can use for their business. So have an idea of your assets, get an idea of your credit score, make sure it's where it should be. And if it's not, that's where we can help them get where they need to be.
Yeah, I think that any information I would imagine is huge when people, they don't know what they don't know. So I dive into some of the things that you do. I know that you guys have built like a rainmaker plan. I think it's also it's part of the ROBS.
Yeah.
So just touch on that a little bit and let our audience know kind of what it is and kind of why it was built out.
Yes. So the ROBS program, that's kind of the industry acronym, stands for Rollover for Business Startup. And our founder, Len Fisher, pioneered this program about 44 years ago, and it allows entrepreneurs to access their pre-tax retirement funds to use towards business funding. And it's tax-deferred and penalty-free. It's also debt and interest-free financing as well. So if someone has a retirement account from a previous employer, maybe they're sitting on a traditional IRA of some sort, they can leverage that tax-deferred and penalty-free and use that towards their business funding, either outright or in conjunction with financing, small business loans, home equity, cash, partners or investors. So we call it the industry's best kept secret because it's been around for 44 years, but a lot of people still to this day don't know that it exists. But thousands of entrepreneurs have opened their business using this program. So we're super proud of it.
Yeah, that's incredible. I think that there's probably a huge group of people that either don't know how much they have in retirement or don't know the other avenues in which it's able to be used. What kind of flexibility do we have to do other things, other solutions other than the Rainmaker, aka the Robs?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that question. And what I love doing with clients is navigating through all of their options, not just what Benetrends provides. So there's, of course, small business loans out there. Everyone kind of knows SBA when they're pursuing franchise ownership or business ownership. That's kind of the most commonly known strategy. But folks don't realize that they can use home equity line of credit, which sometimes could be cheaper, simpler, faster than SBA. They can leverage their brokerage assets, so non-retirement assets that are easily liquidated you can borrow against that are really low. Folks can, of course, use cash. They can have partners or investors. They can borrow against retirement sometimes, but usually at a small amount. So that's what we do when I work with clients and entrepreneurs. We get a financial snapshot, right? How much cash? Do you have home equity? Do you have a brokerage account or retirement accounts? And then we lay out all the options and kind of weigh out the pros and cons of each.
So I know that when you deal with horsepower, when we talk about our partnership, I know you guys are always wanting to be in the process early. So for somebody who is looking into purchasing a business, but they have not really put their thumb on which one. Obviously, with horsepower, we have 9 brands.
Yep.
Sometimes people are still looking, window shopping, as we'll call it. But obviously, the funding part of it is a big deal. Funding can slow down your process or speed up your process significantly if you have your ducks in a row. So if I had, or if somebody had a client looking to purchase a business and I was in contact with you early, what sort of tools do you have to give me an idea of, how can I still look for businesses while not saying, okay, this is how much I need? Do you guys have any tools or tactics to kind of help us navigate the ability where it could be this or it could be that?
Yeah, we offer a lot of tools for folks who are looking for a business but might not be set on that business or franchise just yet. So we have some surface level tools on our website, a funding calculator where folks can go in and plug in some ballpark assets and get an idea of their fundability there. We also offer pre-approvals for free, no hard credit pulls, and you don't have to be set on the business for that either. Again, think of it as like you're buying a home, right? You want to get pre-approved to see if you can shop in that right neighborhood, kind of have an idea of what your investment level is, have a range of your total project costs, but that's the best part about pre-approval is getting it done early, knowing kind of what your affordability is, and then you can shop for that business. You have us as resources for unlimited funding consultations. So lots of tools and resources.
I'm sure it's super helpful for people that are looking to purchase a business. When I'm thinking about purchasing a business, talk to me about, let's say I have a business. I know what the investment's going to be. I kind of have my ducks in a row, or I think I do per se. What kind of a timeline? And I know things have changed with the government and all kinds of things. So talk to me a little bit about how you guys deal with and how you approach a timeline. Yeah. We obviously don't want it to be like the cable guy where he says it's going to be between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m.
Right.
But at the same time, if someone's looking to possibly fund their business, what would you consider is a pretty decent timeline to be able to secure funding?
Sure. I hate answering with it depends, but of course it does. So with the ROBS program, the Rainmaker, that takes about 18 to 30 days on average. Small business loans, we joke that the S doesn't stand for speed sometimes, but these can take anywhere from like 45 to 60 days. So I would say, between 1 to 2 months.
Okay. And I think that, obviously you guys have helped numerous clients, more than we could ever have time on the podcast to talk about. But in your time with Benetrends, whether it was somebody that was specifically your client or someone that you just had heard about and talked about around the water cooler, what's one success story that sticks out to you? Or maybe there's a couple where basically somebody came in, they say, I don't know anything about funding. I know I want to start a business, but I don't even think it's possible. Can you help?
Yeah. And you're right, Dave. We see this every day. But my favorite thing, and it's been happening recently with a lot of layoffs, right? AI is taking over. Lots of corporations are laying off employees. So last week I had a client, really down in the dumps, laid off, looking for jobs in the tech industry. There's not a big job market. He had no idea about the ROBS program. And he didn't have a lot of cash because he's living on his savings. So SBA wasn't an option until we introduced the ROBS program. And his mind was blown. He had no idea this option existed. He can invest in himself with it. He can fund his business debt-free that way. So just seeing or hearing the demeanor, the energy switch from the beginning of the call to the end of the call was just, that's why I love what I do. So lots of success stories like that, especially recently with a lot of the corporate layoffs.
Totally understand that. And I think that that's probably something that people don't know. There is other options as they navigate a layoff they maybe didn't expect. So finally, for our listener, if they're watching this and they're thinking, man, maybe that's me. Maybe I don't know as much about my financial freedom as far as my fundability. What are some first steps that they should take before even filling out paperwork? You mentioned credit score, those type of things, but what are some things that they should start to do if they choose to work with a company like Benetrends, to find out their own fundability, to have all their paperwork ready to go?
I love networking. Talk to friends and family. If you have friends or family that are entrepreneurs and business owners, ask them where they started. I think making connections and learning from other people is super helpful. You can always Google something. YouTube's there, but I think that's really when things happen. So connect, ask.
Yeah, asking people, obviously we never want to ask for help, but I think sometimes just having conversations about things that are important to you or that you're looking to do are never a bad thing. So on a personal level now, as you start to think about, you've been here 4 years, is that right?
Yep.
When you look at your team at Benetrends, I'll ask you a two-part question. The first part is, in the space of funding, what differentiates your team and the Benetrends team from others? What sets you guys apart as just a relationship building group?
I love that you asked that, Dave, because we've been calling ourselves, as cheesy it may sound, Benetrends 2.0, because we really feel that right now we have the best team in our 44 years from a culture perspective. And again, as cheesy as that may sound, from a family perspective, we treat each other like family. So the culture, again, is super important, but we treat our partners and clients like friends and family too. I think it's just the people, right? That's who people work with. They work with people who they like. So just collectively as a team, I think that we're just shooting through the roof right now.
I would agree. I would concur with that. I think that, as many times as we run across each other at franchise events and whatnot, your guys' team is great in terms of just camaraderie. You guys are always together. You guys are always connected at the hip.
Yeah.
Okay, so now as I take a further step back for you, in your 4 years, when in the beginning you probably knew not next to nothing.
Yeah.
What have you found on a personal level to be the most rewarding part about working at Benetrends?
That's a loaded one. Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is, again, back to when I first started, I wasn't passionate about what I was selling out of college. So working at Benetrends as a consultant, educating clients on their options and actually believing in what I'm educating them on and helping them with, believing in our products and services and believing in our integrity as a company. That's what's rewarding for me on a personal level, as well as obviously helping people achieve their dreams.
Yeah, it's interesting that when we think about sales, we only think about selling a product and service as opposed to providing a product and service,
Mm-hmm.
right? While I know there are many things that you're selling, right? I think that what you find about Benetrends and funding in general is you're providing a service that someone may not know a lot about. And so it's almost to say, it's the same thing in franchising, right? When we talk about business ownership, we talk about the fact that we're helping you with process, procedures, and playbook. And so when you think about funding and you think about Benetrends, right, you're also providing an avenue in which not everybody knows about. And so I'm sure there's people that are listening to this or have thought to themselves, how does so-and-so start a business? And I think that to your point earlier, talking to people, talking to your Rolodex of people, communicating with people, asking questions about their business, I think will provide an incredible amount of knowledge to then contact someone like yourself and realize there are really a lot more options than I thought to owning a business.
Yeah.
So in closing, if you were to talk to somebody who, like I said, I talked to my friends, I talked to my family, and now I'm just looking to get some information and see kind of where I settle. How do they contact you? How do they get a hold of you guys and move that forward?
Yeah, it's easy as going on our website. You can schedule a call with anyone on our team right on our website. We're on LinkedIn. You can shoot us a text. You can call us, email us. But I think starting on our website is perfect.
Awesome. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for diving into the podcast a little bit and just giving us some high level information on funding, which is a topic that probably not a lot of people pay attention to or know. Absolutely. And I think that they probably don't understand how big of a piece of the puzzle until they're in it. It's also a big part in figuring out your timeline.
Yeah.
If you are someone who is going into business ownership, is excited about it, all of us, when we talk to people, a lot of times people will say, I work fast, I do this fast.
Right.
But really there are some things that are out of your control in terms of funding, in terms of a few things that having these things in order, being pre-approved, being able to navigate this and doing it on the forefront will really help your timeline. So I really appreciate your help and your insight on this, and thank you for being a part of the podcast.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it.